With shows, specifically those that have an active community such as RWBY, theories pop up all the time, some with undeniable amounts of evidence behind them, and others not so much. Is RWBY a clone of Summer? Just why? But then there are those theories that pop up and you think they'll go away, but they don't. You just see more and more comments and posts about it. That is this theory. Is Qrow Ruby's real dad? The theory that used to be the most popular, I would say, was the Juniper death theory. Now, I would say that has since been dethroned by this. I've learned it's not about what I believe, it's about presenting the idea, opening more discussion, and more spam to fill other people's comment section. And now, probably a year or two late to the party, here's the video. So first we need to understand the family tree as we are presented with it. Ruby and Yang are half-sisters with about a 1 to 2 year difference between them. Ruby's mom is Summer Rose, and Yang's mom is Raven Bronwyn. The father to both of these girls is Taiyang Xiaolong. Yang being the older sister means that Taiyang and Raven were the first couple. They had Yang and for whatever reason separated, leading Tai to get together with Summer to then have another child only for Summer to inevitably die. Now leaving Tai single and with 2 children. That is the family tree as we are presented with it currently. The biggest hiccup here for people is how fast Taiyang seems to have separated from Raven, gotten with Summer, and had another child. That is a 2 year difference at best between having Ruby and Yang. The emotional healing seems to have been uniquely quick for getting over Raven. You'd think that if you have a child with someone, then you care for them. Having a kid isn't just a thing that happens when you're a couple. So if he was willing to have one with Raven, clearly Tai cares about her. So then, why get together with another girl and have another child so quick? That is, of course, unless Tai and Summer were never a thing. Taiyang doesn't exactly seem like he's got that much game to hook up with both of his female teammates. God only knows how close he was to getting with Qrow as well. He almost got a clean sweep. But having children back to back with 2 different women that fast is rather interesting for Tai. Now, you could argue that Tai and Summer weren't exactly complete strangers. They have been on the same team for who knows how long. And I'd agree with you. Even if not a romantic one, they did have some sort of relationship with each other. But it's so much more than they just hooked up and became a couple. He had another child a little over a year of just having one. And that's the questionable act here. Unless Qrow and Summer were actually the 2 together. Alright, we need to go into the assumption that Tai was with Raven and Qrow was with Summer, and that they both ended up having children around the same time. So thus, Ruby is born. Why then would Qrow leave, and why put up this charade of pretending Tai is the father? Well, it's easy to understand why he left. His semblance, as we know, is bad luck. He has no control over it, people around him get caught in the crossfire of this constant bad luck. So it's easy to see why he left. He didn't want to put Ruby in harm's way. One of the most popular pieces of evidence people like to bring up is from the song Bad Luck Charm. You don't want the burden of my name. As you've probably already caught on, people believe that is Ruby he is referring to. You don't want my name, so thus you aren't going to have it. You are going to take your mother's name. This is a way for people to explain why Yang took her father's last name and Ruby didn't. Tai isn't actually her dad. From that song, Qrow really seems to be down on himself. He wants to be alone. Stay away from me, I'm a curse. Drinking, while I'm sure doesn't practically do anything, I'm sure it helps him forget from time to time. Qrow is a walking curse to himself and those around him. If Qrow were to be Ruby's father, there is some logical knowledge for why he didn't tell her. Summer, it's uncertain how or when she died or how old Ruby was when it happened. But losing a parent is the single most stressful life event a child can go through. For an adult, however, losing a spouse is number 1. So theoretically, both Qrow and Ruby went through the single-handedly most stressful life event both of them could have possibly experienced. It could be what led Qrow to drink, as it does with many other people. So without a mother, who is Ruby to go to? The only one that's left, her father. But since Qrow is a living, breathing bad luck charm, it makes sense as to why he wouldn't want Ruby to be around him, especially when at such a young and vulnerable age. She can't protect herself as a baby or as a young girl. She'd be safer with Tai since Qrow can trust him, but just because he is bad luck doesn't mean he had to stay away forever. Now, part of what I'm about to say is the much weaker evidence to this all, but everything is worth note. The way they look, the way they fight, and the way they dress. They both use sais, they both have a cape, and they both even don a cross. Most people chalk that up to he was her teacher. Even Ruby says that Qrow taught her, he helped her build her weapon and helped her train. But when you look at Tai and Yang, all those things are there as well. They look the same, they fight the same, and they train together. But why doesn't Tai help Ruby train? Perhaps because Qrow wants father-daughter time with Ruby. Similar to the end of Volume 3. Qrow's pleas to Tai to talk to Ruby had such a sincere, I need to talk to her alone, just me and her.
Tai, please.
All Tai did in that scene was tell her what happened. Beacon fell and a dragon froze. And in moments like that, friends dead, traumatic events, the parent should be the one to put their child at ease. And even if this theory isn't true, Taiyang still should have been the one to put Ruby at ease as a parent. But Qrow was the one who did that. Qrow is the one who was constantly watching over Ruby. He watched when she first talked to Ozpin. He watched as she traveled to Mistral. Qrow has been keeping an avid eye on Ruby for what seems like her entire life, making sure that she's safe. So then, why not reveal himself? Well, you see, everyone has a choice. Qrow decided that his semblance to be around a defenseless child was unsafe for her. So he decided to hand her over to Tai, putting up this false life of Ruby's, thus sparing her the pain of losing a parent and not being allowed to be around the other. Instead, she's only lost one and could be around her father safely. And to reveal himself now would be such a life-shattering moment for Ruby. Her mother is dead, her father isn't actually her father, instead her perceived uncle is actually her father, and Yang isn't actually her sister. So much of what Ruby knows would come crumbling down on top of her, and there would be no "I understand" type reaction. No one in their right mind would believe that a 16-year-old girl could both process that while also accepting it. So, to spare her even more emotional pain, he just refuses to cause it. This also leads to one more scene being called into question, and that's when he shows Yang the picture of her mom along with the rest of Team Stark. The question here is, why does he have that picture on him? To just remind him of the better times in his life? Most people, when they carry around a picture of someone or a group of people, there is usually someone specific in that photo that the person cares about. It's typically kept as a reminder of something, love, an event, anything. People hold on to pictures because they still want to see someone even when that someone is no longer alive. Qrow seems fully capable of seeing Tai any day. Him and Raven, while siblings and have a rocky history, have been shown to meet up from time to time as well as keep an eye on each other. Summer really seems to be the only reason Qrow is holding on to that photo. And when you look at the picture, there are certain subtleties with it that kind of speak for itself. And that's the quote-unquote damage the picture has sustained. When you look at Qrow's picture and the picture Taiyang has in his house, the two are in different conditions. It looks as though Qrow had been crying and shedding tears over his picture, causing these little stains. Summer, also uncertain what's going on here, seems almost circled. Once again, those details aren't in Taiyang's picture, so it's not just how the picture turned out. So, one way to phrase it, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and Qrow's picture speaks for itself. Summer's death affected him in one way or another, whether they be past lovers or just very close teammates. Now, do I believe this theory? No, not really. It is very interesting and I can see why people believe it. Probably one of the biggest reasons I don't was because back in 2014, someone tweeted at Monty with the theory that Yang was actually Summer Rose. Monty responded to that tweet and denied it, saying that Ruby and Yang are half-sisters. And that's such a defining factor. They are half-sisters. If he had only said that Summer is Ruby's mom, then I could believe this theory. But because it's been repeated over and over again about how Ruby and Yang are sisters, it's hard for me to think anything else aside from how else could they still be half-sisters and not be related by blood. But I figured this theory has made its way around. People really want to know both what it is, as well as my opinion on it. So while I don't believe it, I did attempt to make an argument for it for the sake of theory. And honestly, while it could make some sense, it's a lot of assuming things. So, until future volumes, we must still wait. So what do you guys think? Do you believe Qrow truly is Ruby's dad, or is Taiyang just that smooth? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you're interested in more content like this, follow me on all social medias, and I'll see you in the next video.